Good evening, friends. Thanks for joining us. Another edition of Live at Night Soccer Talk, or you can flip that Soccer Talk Live at Night. I'm Alex Parra. This is for us, day 19 of our World Cup coverage. And you can finally see it. Well, you probably saw this after day 2, to be honest with you. But here we are again. It's great to have all of you with us. We literally are finishing up another exciting evening of soccer. We just watched the Netherlands and Morocco. If you have been following, you know that another of the round of 32 matches that went to PKs, 2 out of 3 today that were decided that way. Tonight in Monterrey, Morocco picking up the win and moving on to the round of 16. A lot to talk about. I'd like to welcome in my little friend. This evening we have the Brazuca Ball from Brazil 2014. By the way, in that World Cup, won by Deutschland, who are out. Second place was Argentina. Third place, Netherlands, who are out. And fourth place, the home country of Brazil, who are still in. So just a little reference to history. A lot to talk about. Thanks to all of you that are joining us via Facebook, Deportes Nation Facebook, Deportes Nation X, formerly Twitter. I think we just say X now full time. And also on our Deportes Nation YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Whew, it's late. It's a little after 11 p.m., but we're here and we want to talk a little bit about the World Cup and soccer. Enough about Alex Parra, enough about the ball. Let's welcome in the one and only, there you see him, Professor Victor Araiza. You look very scholarly, Victor. How are you this evening, sir? And thanks for staying up so late.
Yeah, it seems like we had maybe because yesterday we had the one game. It feels like 3 days crammed into one,
Yes.
but certainly plenty to talk about today, and obviously one of those here in our home state. But yeah, I think we kind of knew there was going to be some surprises coming, and we got one today. And when you start to look back at the luck of the draw and why it's so important, I mean, we can get into that. But I think there was for the Netherlands at least, who just got eliminated a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no way to cut it. It was either Morocco, had they finished third in their group, who was it? Because Sweden got France, so they would have ended up there. Or if they ended up second, they would have been where Japan is against Brazil. So it's all these matchups are going to be difficult, and we knew there was going to be some surprises. So again, it's the excitement of the elimination round and what it means, and the severity of the results, because you got to get it right, and if you don't have a good day, it's the end of your tournament.
It's the end of your tournament, and all of that comes with that. Victor, before we talk about today's matches, I was watching some video from the return of the South Korean team back to their country, and the kind of booing, hissing, and we can talk about a team crashing out here in the United States, and it may not be as close to us, but when they return to their country, they can be villains or they can be heroes. It really is a lot of pressure. I feel exhausted today because 2 of these 3 matches went to PKs. Although it says 1-1 on this graphic, obviously that was the final score. We'll get into the details of who won, and you already know who won, friends. But Victor, I think my point is the pressure of winning, especially for certain countries, Deutschland, Germany, Netherlands, the Dutch. It's if you crash out in the round of 32, this is considered a failure in many ways. South Korea, for instance, not even getting to the round of 32, the team I was referring to. The country expects more. There's even investigations about what may have happened to not have the Korean team continue.
It's all part. It all comes with the territory. It's all. I mean, this is taken seriously everywhere else in the world. Coaches are going to get fired. One of them got fired during the tournament,
literally,
for Tunisia.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we hear Nagelsmann is out at Germany. Same with Koeman with the Netherlands, just because it's not where they envisioned ending up. This early in the tournament, basically in the first round of the elimination of the knockout stage, 2 nations obviously that had aspirations to go far, Brazil had a close call today as well, and Ancelotti would have probably been on the chopping block also had he not had Brazil not completed the deal um, in that first game of the day. So certainly different from yesterday, and obviously we kind of knew to use the term house money that South Africa was sort of got an extra game because it probably should have been South Korea, but they fumbled it. Um, Coincidentally, in the same stadium that the Netherlands did just tonight in Monterrey, and I don't know if it, playing at the foot of the mountains, I mean, all these things haven't. We don't talk about them enough, or I mean, I don't know if anybody talks about them enough. But there is something to playing in air-conditioned stadiums, like we saw Brazil and Japan, that
Sure.
might even the odds a little bit. Um, Maybe people thinking that the heat in Houston, Brazil is acclimated, but they're not playing in heat; they're playing indoors. To where like the Netherlands and Morocco are playing in a different environment. Germany and Paraguay were playing all the way out there
Boston.
in
Yeah.
Boston, which it's still a hot climate because it's the summer, but it's not as hot as some of the other cities in the United States. So
And
yeah,
Victor, we're all adapting to the competition, the expanded field, the patterns I'm starting to see of teams that are continuing on or not. The travel today in both the Germany versus Paraguay match and the Morocco versus Netherlands match. Well, all three were tied matches. Obviously, you can see by the scores. Anyone could have won really when you get to the end of it. But I started seeing now the wear and tear on all of these teams, physically, mentally. It's weighing, and this is part of surviving a tournament like this, Victor. We'll get into the details of today, but it's strategy, it's mental strength at some point. You saw Japan earlier today, and you were there at Houston Stadium. A very conservative approach. I would say at times maybe even anti-soccer
yeah.
approach.
Well, but they were without some key players too.
True.
So I mean, there's that side of it. So they might have not had any other choice.
Yeah, yeah, but it all starts accumulating and wearing and tearing, and these are the decisions. Players that accumulate cards, of course, that's wiped out in the round of 32. But players that aren't 100% physically, as you point out, so a lot of variables, friends, that get us through today. And let's look at this, Victor, for a moment, where the current bracket stands. And this has been updated after the game yesterday and the three games today of the round of 32. Yeah, I expected to have Deutschland going through and Netherlands going through, but no, you can see Paraguay beating Germany, going through, waiting for the France versus Sweden winner, and we have a game in Houston now set for July 4th, Victor, with two teams that have qualified.
Canada and Morocco, certainly. So we won't be seeing the Dutch again. It'll be two different teams from what we've seen so far. And obviously, for Houston, I think again, it just, what a draw that we got to be able to just get, different nations, in different settings. Obviously, each game has had its own story. But this is the one we're closing with, Canada and Morocco, and obviously Morocco. One of the strong nations, certainly in the last tournament, and in this one proving as well, beating the Netherlands, and then obviously an American coach in Jesse Marsh guiding the Canadians, who we have plenty of those too in Houston. So I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a Canada home game, but I think there'll be enough Canadians out there where there'll be some brotherly love, if we want to put it that way.
Oh, Canada will be sung in that stadium, and many of us. Actually, I think that's a pretty anthem. I like all three anthems: the Mexican national anthem, of course, United States and Canada. The last game that's already been decided, which you were at this morning, was this match, Brazil versus Japan. Victor, take us through your thoughts as we also look at some of the work that was put together by Katie Omania and Grant of what your reflections on this match that could have gone either way. And for a while there, Victor, Japan with the lead early, as fans gathered. Obviously, a lot of was it the most intense match per se the most high energy match? I'm hearing a lot of that piece of it, although there's been a lot of energy, like you said. Diverse teams have been here already in Houston.
Yeah, I think so. Just again, the nature of it being an elimination match, knowing that there has to be a winner, that's part of it. Obviously, Brazil brings plenty of fans, and we knew they were going to outnumber the Japan fans in the stadium. Um, that I would say at least 85%, if not 90%, yellow shirts at Houston Stadium today. But I will tell you, and I was surprised by this. The loudest fans in that stadium were the Japanese, no question, and they could teach a thing or two to some supporters around the world. Certainly for the Brazilian. And listen, this is also a byproduct of this being an expensive ticket. I'm sure there's a lot of like again people that just because Brazil's a sexy team wanted to
Hmm.
get the Brazil game in Houston. Maybe not the most hardcore fans, right? Um, so you got some chance from some Brazilians. It's certainly in the upper sections where the Brazilian supporters are, but it wasn't continuous through 90 minutes. I have to say, I was a little disappointed in the Brazilians on that. I don't know if they were just a little shocked at the way Japan was withstanding Brazil, or the fact that Brazil just didn't look as strong as they probably should, being five-time champions. The weight of that shirt. But yeah, Japan, the Japanese supporters brought it 90 minutes, nonstop singing, nonstop chanting. And again, because of the numbers, when the Brazil chants were there sporadically throughout the game, obviously it was loud, but I mean, it was momentary. It was very brief. And then yeah, I think the Japanese gave a lot of energy. I think the players fed off of that. The team did.
Yeah, they did.
They got the opening goal. They made a game out of this.
And Victor,
And
forgive me, I'm going to interrupt you. When that opening
yeah,
goal
go ahead.
happened for Japan, you could see the level of the yellow shirts, and it quieted that place down. That was pro Brazil. What, 8-2, 9-1?
Yeah, yeah, whatever percentage that it was. No, I mean, and again, it just, but Japan weren't playing scared, and I think maybe those days are kind of gone in this day and age. There's not really a team that strikes fear into others, and
Yeah.
um, that's probably why there's not really an outstanding favorite in this World Cup. We should be pointing to the Brazils, to the up until today, the Germanys and the Netherlands and those kinds of teams. Is man, these are the bona fide nations. These are the ones that are gonna like you don't want to cross their path. And we're seeing nobody's afraid of anybody. Certainly Japan, not at full strength, but they weren't backing down and took the they weren't going to go toe to toe, never, right, with Brazil, because um, I think there's a certain strategy obviously you have to apply, but they had their chances, they had their moments, and again, the goal that they had came off with an interception, right?
They
They
did.
go the other
Yep.
way. They drive with conviction, and they strike past a world class goalkeeper like Alisson. So yeah, amazing effort from Japan. They couldn't find a second, and then that's when eventually Brazil finds their way back into a game in the second half. Um, Casemiro gets the tying goal. Even then, you saw it. Well, I guess this thing is heading to extra time, right?
Mm.
And nope, additional time. Uh, Martinelli, gets the goal. It just elapsed. I think maybe just like you said, mentally, maybe Japan just couldn't finish it, and you know, Brazil kind of sneaks out of there with a win. They were probably the team that we all predicted was going to go through, but certainly it was a bigger contest than I think many expected.
Absolutely, Victor. I couldn't have summed it up anymore. We all expected Brazil. My prediction was a close match like this, but really it could have gone either way. Let's look quickly, and maybe I'll give you a better view here. The matches that have been played in Houston, we've had 6 of them already. There's 1 remaining, but we know who will be playing in that match, and that'll be Canada versus Morocco. And I honestly wasn't expecting that as well. But you talked about the diversity that we saw here. in Houston. Victor, you physically attending every one of these matches, all exciting. As we have one more, of course, that's coming on July 4th. And I don't want to get ahead of our skis and start summarizing or kind of looking back about what the Houston experience in the World Cup was. But this is some quality stuff. We saw a little bit of everything so far. An exciting, tight match today in the round of 32. We saw a lot of goals being scored by three European powerhouses, including Portugal. We saw records being broken by CR7, and two of these teams are already out, which are Germany and Netherlands. But your thought on where we are with one game remaining, which will take place this Saturday, July 4th, between Canada and Morocco.
Yeah, again, another decisive contest, and Canada, Morocco. I think I don't want to say it's a toss-up, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past Canada to take this game. Again, there hasn't been an overwhelming favorite, and certainly, obviously, that game was a little bit more even, if we want to put it on those terms. Even though the Netherlands, I think, was most people's pick to advance. I don't think anybody was necessarily, just counting on Morocco in the way that maybe some people were counting out Japan or certainly Paraguay in the other games today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have the Moroccans coming into Houston, Canada again also here. We have plenty of, I think, people from both of these nations in this city, as we've had Brazilians. Which maybe, I don't know if that was an eye opener for people, Japanese as well. And I know there's tourists coming in from all over the world, but I think all these teams have been represented with locals. And I think it's highlighted our soccer city, certainly our soccer state, because Dallas has had some of those as well, how multicultural they are. I know, the guys like you and me, this is no surprise. We know these people live here. They live the game. But it's not often that we get, like a Brazil visiting Houston in a match like this, and to sort of exemplify how big these nations are and how much of a population supports these teams.
Victor, speaking a little bit about the visitors to our city, to our state, to our country, to our hemisphere. Again, I'm not a big social media person in the sense of, I think it's very distracting. It certainly is to me. It's not accurate, but what is fascinating is watching people's reactions when you have that culture clash, if you will. Japanese arriving in Texas, and there's this video. I think I sent it to you, and I've watched several like this. Japanese, I presume nationals, so certainly supporters of the Japanese national team, being shocked, surprised by Texas, and seeing police officers on horseback near the stadium and just being taken aback by that. Again, maybe one of the cliches of everyone in Texas has their horse, but it was cute. It was a very positive kind of, I didn't know that's the way things were here. And the way the Japanese approach our culture, I think, very respectfully. Literally, I still have videos are out there, pictures are out there of not only Japanese staying at Houston Stadium to clean up afterwards, but now being joined in by others, including local Houstonians, because of the respect and the care that all of us should have toward our communities. I think that piece of it is so fascinating, and has nothing to do with who won the game, has nothing to do with who ends up champion. Those are priceless moments, Victor. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it certainly there's been a lot of, again, cultural pieces to all these, from the marches to the different supporters, the everybody congregating in different sides of town. Again, I think a lot of locals joining in, some of them just trying to get a glimpse, of either where it was Cristiano Ronaldo or Neymar, or anybody else that came through Houston, Texas. So, the sad thing is we only have one more game of these left, and that's that puts, rolls down the curtain on Houston, Texas hosting the World Cup, which I know we waited many years
Many
to
years.
have that honor. And again, the first one was a very historical moment, but now we'll have seven, and who knows when the next one will come around. But certainly these are some of the better matchups, I think, or stories, or whatever, however you want to categorize them, of this World Cup. I think overall, Houston got a nice little portfolio of this World Cup.
Absolutely. So that was the first match today, Brazil versus Japan in Houston. We know Brazil then moves on, and here in a little bit we'll show you again the bracket as teams continue to move to the round of 16. But there was a second game, Victor, played in Boston. You mentioned this, outdoors, the heat. And again, a shocking victory here for many. Not shocking in the sense that it was impossible, but certainly Germany expected to do more. Germany disappointed in many ways, Victor, in this tournament. Like you said, their manager, to me, also on the hot seat. But Paraguay finding the way in penalty kicks to win this one of two matches that went to penalty kicks. Your observation about Paraguay and CONMEBOL moving on.
Yeah, as I was watching this game, I was found myself rooting for them. Probably one because of the Latin America connection, but also because they fight. Because maybe they don't have all the opportunities. Maybe they're not going to generate all the opportunities. But they'll fight to try to get in that result against obviously a more superior opponent, I think, and maybe talent, and maybe people won't agree, maybe that's disrespectful, but I think certainly Germany was probably head and shoulders considered the favorite, right? And when the U.S. Did what they did in that opening game against Paraguay, I think a lot of people might have thought Germany might have been able to do the same thing. But Paraguay, again, if they only had a few opportunities, they made them count. And I think the opening goal for me, was the biggest point, because up to that point, I mean, you got all the passing from Germany. And again, it's this modern football where they want to be perfect. It has to be, I don't know, circulating the ball. And at some point, the World Cup's about moments. The World Cup's about star players at the ball at their feet saying, I want to be the guy that's the hero of this game.
Yeah.
And you didn't get that sense with Germany. And you did with Paraguay. Guys wanted to make plays. If you fail, that's fine. You'll try on the next one. And if you only get 2 shots on target or whatever it was,
make them count.
Yeah. And that's what that's what the World Cup is for. That's what that stage is for. And you could see the passion, and especially all the way through penalties. If some of these players, try to be cold, right? When they go up to shoot the penalty. But the moment the ball goes in, you could see it all come out. And I think that's what this World Cup, with Brazil also, I mean, I think you want to see, or we were expecting to see maybe a little more of that from Brazil, right? From the Netherlands. And again, maybe they're just tired of all these players are in top clubs, top leagues. Maybe they're just exhausted from all the games they played throughout the year.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the magic of the World Cup is there's an honor, there's a desire to represent your country, to give more than what you can. And I think for some of these teams like Germany, for them, they almost play like they're in an all-star game rather than, what Paraguay was showing you. And it's no, we're here for that flag and to put our country and ourselves in the limelight, that we can play with the best of them. And we may not be considered the same tier, but we're gonna do our best to just win this game. And if we gotta go the distance, you do, and that's what they did.
Well, Victor, you talk about the tiers. I think that's disappearing more and more every day. We've been talking about this. We've been seeing it. This is proof of the distances now. Certainly, there were a few blowouts. We talked about that German game in Houston, the 7-1 over Curaçao. I understand that one potentially. But I mean, again, if you look at the history of both of these countries, I don't think anyone was betting against Germany today. Might it be close? Yes, like it was, but to get through and break through in that sense, to me is monumental. As is this match, which literally just finished a few minutes before we went on the air today. Morocco winning in penalty kicks 3-2. Not so shocking or surprising as earth shaking, I would say, as the Paraguay match in beating Deutschland. Morocco has a history here, but also it's two traditional powerhouses that you expect, we all expect more, and that magic, which suddenly they find a way to win. There was no previous confidence, especially in penalty kicks for teams like Paraguay, like Morocco, to have it in them mentally, physically, and also historically. And that tonight we saw that change, even with Japan, by the way, a very good team, not at full strength, who kind of parked the bus at times. But the distances now are very tight. Anything can happen, Victor. I think that's refreshing. I think that's positive.
Yeah, and again, like I said, moments. Japan's goalie was,
Oh yeah.
tremendous throughout the day with key saves, and maybe some of them were gimmies, but others were pivotal, and that kept Japan in the game. Same thing with Paraguay. Try to play the mind games in the penalty kicks, and again, some other players also. I mean, this thing with the stutter step when you go out and take a penalty. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's at stake for you, right? Are you trying to be serious about trying to go out and win a game, or is it just like a club game to you, where at the end of the day you're getting paid anyway, so who cares, right? I mean, I guess that's where the patriotism and the pride, I would say, of playing with the national team. That's why it's different than club football, because it's almost like, yeah, you're millionaires and you're playing this game, but in this environment, none of that exists. It's all pride, right? And it's all wanting to win, and it's all wanting to do it for your country, and proving you're the best. And again, some of these countries, you don't see that bite, and that's why they're out.
Victor, I think another thing from a soccer point of view, and maybe tonight won't be the evening to get into it, but I think we need to dissect it in the future, is debunking and this starts at the youth level. Go ahead and do some rondos, go ahead and keep possession. But if you know how to deal with that, it's actually, you're lulled into a sense of, look how great I am, and making 78 consecutive passes and moving forward 10 yards. It's actually, it's limiting, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it's one of the conversations I'm starting to hear from soccer minds, which is, okay, maybe it is time to change tactics. Or certainly, if you're a team that's going to compete at a high level, have a repertoire where you're able to have possession, and you're able then to say, no, I don't want the possession, and or be very good at what you do defensively, and know that out of 4 opportunities, if you put 2 in the back of the net, you can dominate a game and have 30% possession. Where we are being taught, and have been since the Barcelona days, since tiki-taka, that once you control that ball and you're running the game, you're in control. That is being flipped on its head, Victor. A quick comment on that. I know that's got a deeper dive into what we see in MLS soccer, for instance. 2 teams that do the same exact thing and go nowhere for 87 minutes. I saw now tactics where, you know what, let's wait, let's play the deeper ball, the more direct ball, the longer ball, and that can make all the difference, especially when you don't know how to defend against that. So I'll be quiet, because I go on too much about preaching about this. It has to change, and this might be that moment when these things are recognized.
Yeah, it's like makeup, or it's like social media, where we only want to have good moments. So that's why, to me, the passing, it gets on my nerves, because it's almost like you care more about padding your stats and saying, oh, we had X% of possession. Who cares? The whole point of this game is to put the ball in the back of the net, and who scores the most goals. I mean, it's that simple, and I don't know why everybody continues to try to complicate it. Now, if you can do it like Barcelona and play, the Barcelona of those days, by the way, which,
Correct.
I mean, we're talking one of the
90s.
best
Yeah.
historic. Well, and even the Messi Barcelona Guardiola. I mean that was a special team, right? And if you can get that done, um, yeah, there's an art to that. But I think people just want to kind of paint themselves. It's like the people that do the Ronaldo celebration, and like if that makes you Cristiano Ronaldo. No, what makes you Cristiano Ronaldo is if you put in the hard work and the dedication, and then the results come. It's not passing the ball around to make it look like you're more dominant than the other team.
Agreed.
At some point, maybe you got to be questioned if you're being challenged enough, and part of that challenge has to come from yourself. Um, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just it's easy. It's not that complicated, and it's almost the other part of this is, like you just said, it's like people are in this environment. We're too afraid to fail, right? We rather have the passes and have and try to have that one shot or whatever. Have these many shots, and I don't even know. I mean, again, it's all data. This whole thing about you get scored on and immediately you look at the iPad, like if that's going to tell you what you did wrong. I mean, at some point you got to use some critical thinking. You got to observe, and it's also you got to feel sometimes what the game is, where it's going, and all these things that are the human element that we're trying to erase from the game. I mean, even in officiating, where and I don't want to use an excuse, but there was one goal here today where I'm sure Germany's thinking, well, that should have been in, and here it goes to VAR and it gets taken away.
Because of the foul on the ref,
Again,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
On the
I go
goalkeeper,
back to
sorry.
it.
Yeah.
It goes back to the conversation again, not getting too deep, but what we were talking about yesterday. Technology is great if it helps you make the right decision and correct, um, some of the errors that you have made. Sometimes the results unfair, right? I think it's supposed to be that's what it's there for. It's supposed to correct, not to fix to kind of judge every little thing. And well, I mean that's kind of where the game is going, unfortunately.
And there's nothing like confidence in yourself, regardless of your limitations. And I think we're seeing this with several countries, including today Morocco and Paraguay. Let's talk a little bit, Victor, about tomorrow's matches that are coming up, and also another full day of excitement, another full day of potential. Again, hopefully close matches. But let's talk first of all about Cote d'Ivoire against Norway in Arlington, another game in Texas, and then France-Sweden matchup, and then the evening wrapping up, I think, with a very intriguing Mexico versus Ecuador.
Yeah, and again, we're going to see if there's some surprises during the day. That first match is probably picking up where we left off, where at least the Netherlands have that excuse that it was a little bit more of an even match, right? With Morocco, it was a tighter affair where again Germany was probably supposed to win. So was Brazil expected to win in this one. I think we're kind of maybe a toss up. We'll see. I think obviously Norway has started well. That maybe a lot of people are looking at them just because of Erling Haaland. But we got to see them do it in this environment, in an elimination match. And they could potentially start becoming one of the dark horses because it's not, again, it's a team that doesn't really have a lot of fear. Although maybe they might have taken it easy in that game against France, right? But that's one. France is expected to dominate against Sweden. So we'll see if it's as easy as it sounds, or if Sweden can kind of bring another upset alert here at least. And then the last one is
Mexico, Ecuador.
Mexico at home against Ecuador, and Ecuador has nothing to lose, I think. And Mexico has to be feeling some pressure, but at some point you also got to respond as the host nation and take the game forward and try to put it out of reach earlier rather than later, and not get into one of these predicaments that we saw today.
Victor, as you see the bracket and tomorrow, obviously more results. We're narrowing this down. I see, of course, Canada has already come through. They'll be here in Houston on July 4th, the last match of 7 held in Houston. Yeah, I'm going to be missing it, by the way. I see Mexico. I don't want to say it's a gimme because you never know, even though they're at home. But everything indicates that Mexico can come out of there. But then they'll face England potentially.
They should win, but they shouldn't
Yeah.
be overconfident, right?
No, no, no. Again, very intriguing. Where I'm going with this is that on Wednesday we have the United States playing, and it appears to me, unless things get turned upside down, that Mexico, Canada, and United States are through to the round of 16. Should be through to the round of 16, and that makes things very, I think, successful for all three of those countries, by the way. And if by some magic there's a little bit more that happens, you never know. Who do you see building versus not? Obviously, with Netherlands out, with Germany out, I want to see France tomorrow. I want to see if Argentina it continues to build on what they're doing. Who else do you see kind of surging here? And of course, we'll know that after this, their first match in the knockout stage. But who else? Maybe I'll ask it this way. Also, some dark horses, Victor, maybe that we're just not aware of because of the Brazils and the Argentinas of the world.
Yeah, I think again, if Norway continues here, then maybe they got something going. England has to respond in some way. I think they might be one that could recuperate some of the good faith that they've had from basically everyone kind of picking him among the contenders. And certainly in this environment where again we've seen already the likes of Germany and the Netherlands being eliminated. I mean, I don't want to say this is anybody's game, but I mean this might be the year for a team that maybe wasn't considered a fully complete team to a lot of people to surprise, and I would assume that would be the dark horses, right, quote unquote. For example, Portugal. Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo's not at full strength. But maybe this is a year the World Cup doesn't need to be won by somebody who's Spain of 2010 or Argentina of 2022 or what have you. Could Spain grow into something? Could Croatia do it? The United States and Mexico, and we'll throw Canada in there too. Could they get on a run? But I point to the U.S. and Mexico because certainly for like we said, this one and then following game, they'll be on home soil. And I mean, again, Colombia is another one that I would throw in there just because they're playing in the United States, and that might be one that people are overlooking, and they have enough players that could make it interesting against some of the top nations.
Quietly getting through their bracket, of course, they would face Argentina down the road, which could be very, very interesting. Victor, we've highlighted this in the last 2 days with Enrique Vasquez and obviously also with you, the success from African nations. We know now that South Africa won't continue. They lost against Canada. Morocco today continuing on in the victory over Netherlands. You start getting 2 or 3 more nations that get a good round of 32, get some help in the round of 16, and those could be some shockers as well from my perspective. Still a lot to be determined. But Victor, we're going to wrap up this evening. I know it's late for many of us, and I can't thank you enough for your hard work. Let's go back just quickly about AS. Unfortunately, we start winding down games in Houston. Any other thoughts about game number 6 with one left, July 4th, which will be a big one? Relative to the competition, relative to the celebration, things are still going smoothly. From a security point of view, from an energy point of view, from a field point of view, mobility of people, we couldn't have asked for anything better.
No, and I think obviously one of the more in-demand games, and it again, I think the fans showing out even from the day before. Showing out to the team hotels. I mean, I think it's another proof, another piece of proof that Houston is the overall soccer city. It's not just Mexican fans or Central America. it's all the nations. Any pick any part of the world, and you'll have some a link to Houston, Texas. And I think when you bring a team like Brazil here or Japan, it exemplifies that. So I think it's even more proof of what a great soccer city we have. And yeah, I mean that pretty much sums it up. I couldn't put it better than those words. I mean, Houston is. We've said it for years, and maybe for a lot of those years, because this has evolved with through the decades, right? For example, a lot of people might have known this before the 2000s, but there wasn't a Reliance Stadium necessarily to be a place where some of these matches could take place.
Yeah.
They weren't taking place in the Astrodome, right? So um, they were taking place, some of them at Robertson Stadium, which is a shorter or smaller venue at the time. But again, I think Reliance Stadium, and that's why maybe it's so fitting it's the stadium that got the World Cup games, because the U.S. wasn't a host in 1994. Um, yeah, I mean, because it really was the big, kind of the rocket ship that where the sport kind of just for the overall view of the general public.
Let me,
I don't think anybody that was in soccer community wouldn't know that it was a soccer city.
Victor, let me close with an interesting tidbit. One of the stories that is rarely told, and your comments brought it to my mind. I vividly remember, this is what, year 21 or 22 of the MLS, Houston Dynamo in our city of Houston, right? We know that historically, the Dynamo first played at Robertson Stadium, which is on the campus of the University of Houston. And you are correct. Prior to that, there was no other stadium that could even think about hosting real international level matches like we do now at NRG Reliant Houston Stadium. But where I'm going with this, you talk about how things have changed. I never would have imagined, and I'm going to tell you why, seeing this kind of crowd and seeing this level of play in Houston, because the system wouldn't allow it. Let me be more specific. I vividly remember that the Dynamo were literally begging the University of Houston to allow them to use the stadium. And the athletic director at the time literally saying, no, this isn't for us. This isn't our culture. This is not about what we're trying to do here. Not even recognizing the potential that it had. It was, we're doing you guys a favor, but you know what? We don't really want this. This isn't for us. And I can name the names if need be, but it was a completely different mentality, Victor, about soccer being a foreigner sport, about soccer not being Houston. Of course, that man is gone, had no idea about Houston sports and what we're witnessing. Who would not want to say, look, let's invest together in growing this. Let's expand TDECU Stadium now to 50,000 people so we can host these kind of events. The mentality hasn't been there. The vision hasn't been there. That ignorance, Victor, is what set us behind for so many years. But I cannot tell you how much I enjoy now what we're seeing at Reliant. The stadium that's mainly for the NFL or for the rodeo turned into this palace for the sport of soccer. So I'll stop preaching there because I know it's late. But you can see the mentality, the culture, and the finally waking up to this reality that for so many years was missing. Leadership, Victor, is plain and simple. It didn't exist, and there were no advocates to even think about opening this up and thinking and having this vision that the World Cup would one day be here. I'm going to tell that story more, and I'm going to tell names because I think it's important to do so. I'll give you the last word tonight, Victor.
Yeah, well, no, I couldn't have summed it up better myself. I mean, again, it's just the culmination of where the sport has been building, and I think the question we'll eventually get to it, especially after Saturday, is where does the sport in Houston go from here?
Exactly.
Because once you got to the top of one mountain, again, do you go to the top of another one? Does it continue to evolve, to grow? Is this the only World Cup that we're going to get to host? I don't know, but certainly there's going to be no lack of interest in matches. Certainly in top clubs for friendlies, and we've had plenty of those in the past. And how many of those are we going to be able to be a part of in the future? But certainly this was the last feather in the cap. Certainly that Houston was missing.
and only one match left. I'm lamenting it already a little bit, Victor. But it has been exciting. It's been a whirlwind. It's come and gone way too fast. But let's savor every moment. And I know we'll have time to recap on another evening, and we'll also ask Don Enrique Bastos to give us his perspective. But I don't see this as an end. Actually, it's another challenge to keep raising the bar relative to the sport and relative to us working together. It's not them versus us. It's all of us together in this. Victor, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Very interesting matches. And Mexico against Ecuador, to me, not a given, but a great opportunity for Mexico, who should move on.
Yeah, I think that's certainly what I'm looking forward to, and how the team responds. Because again, and the same goes for the U.S. the day after that. If we want to get ahead of it a little bit, because you saw it today, Netherlands, Germany. I mean, their seasons are over. And it doesn't matter what you did in the group stage. Now what matters is that what you do going forward. This is what you've been building for. Certainly Mexico wants to get to the quarterfinals. That's the best they've ever achieved. I think that the U.S. is probably aiming for a similar finish at the minimum. And I think anything less than that would probably seem like a bummer. If U.S. crashes out to Bosnia and Herzegovina, if Mexico crashes out to Ecuador, I mean, that's not going to be a successful feeling. And there's going to be a lot of talk about, what did it all mean? And in retrospect, as opposed to, looking forward to the next game, which is what everybody really wants to do. And going deeper, I mean, because I've listened to several pundits. I mean, no, it's not going to change what we think of, probably the domestic product or player development. For example, the U.S. A few weeks ago, Landon Donovan going viral for saying, the academy system in the U.S., the youth development is not where it's at, right? If the U.S. goes real far in this World Cup, is that all of a sudden fixed, or are we still going to have those issues, right? Same goes for Mexico. Yeah. I mean, is it going to validate the decisions made with Liga MX? I think a lot of people will still say it could be even better. So we'll still have some of that. And then again, locally, I'm excited to see how many people show up to the Dynamo party, Noche de Mexico, and see what the turnout is. And again, where it goes after that. And hopefully it's not just a one-time thing.
We hope not. But yes, we've been talking about how at Shell Energy Stadium, the Mexico match tomorrow night will be there'll be a viewing party live at Shell Energy. So if you're interested in feeling it from that perspective and having many other fans that are supporting El Tri, this would be a wonderful opportunity. Victor, we've got to go. I can't thank you enough for your time. Before we go, friends, thanks to all of you that take the time to watch us, to follow us, whether you do it live or whether you do it another time during your day. We appreciate it. And by the way, drop us a note. Send us your comments, send us your questions, send us your suggestions. We'll take those suggestions. And we really do appreciate you making this live at night soccer talk a little bit better, certainly for us. So on behalf of our production crew, on behalf of Katie, of Grant, of Enrique Vasquez, and on behalf of Victor Araiza, I'm Alex Parra. Thanks to all you for joining us. Please take care of yourselves. Have a great evening, and we'll talk tomorrow. Good night.